Four-time world champions Germany have appointed former Bayern Munich manager Julian Nagelsmann.
A new era begins under head coach Julian Nagelsmann.
Julian Nagelsmann is secretly preparing Germany for a new football era, and hardly anyone notices what's really happening. After the deep crisis of the national team, he quietly created a generation that could strike fear into European football. His strategies and methods not only surprise experts, but also raise worrying questions. Is what Nagelsmann is planning genius or dangerous? Germany, the land of the 2014 World Cup winners, the golden football nation that was once considered an unstoppable tournament machine. But then came the crash. First, the embarrassing early exit at the 2018 World Cup. A one-off slip-up? No, the 2021 Euros, out in the round of 16, and in 2022, the ultimate low point, another early exit, another humiliation. Germany, once feared in tournaments, became the joke of the international football scene. And as if that wasn't enough, 2023 brought the ultimate culmination of chaos, a 1-4 loss to Japan at home in Wolfsburg, a game that was more than just a defeat. It was a humiliation, a public declaration of failure. The crowd was in shock. Experts were speechless, and Hansi Flick became the first national coach in DFB history to be fired before a major tournament, a disgrace that had never happened before. What had gone wrong? You could say everything. Flick was desperately searching for a concept, sometimes a back four, sometimes a back three, sometimes an attacking spectacle, sometimes a fearful, timid style of football. The defense was an absolute shambles, misplaced passes, positional errors, goals conceded that would make even Sunday League teams shudder. Mentally, the team seemed helpless. No will, no fire, no bite. Where a Bastian Schweinsteiger once fought on with a bleeding head, you now saw perplexed faces looking at each other after every goal conceded. Germany had become estranged from its national team. They no longer saw a team, but a team without an identity, a team without a soul. Hansi Flick's fate was sealed. After the debacle against Japan, the DFB was left with a historical mess, and only one question remained. Who can rebuild this wreck? A new coach was needed, one who wasn't afraid of making big decisions, one who would come with new tactics, new energy, and a clear philosophy. And that's exactly where Julian Nagelsmann comes in. Julian Nagelsmann was already the youngest coach in Bundesliga history at just 28. No coincidence, because football has always been more than just a game to him. Hoffenheim, RB Leipzig, Bayern Munich, wherever he went, he created a sense of a fresh start. Why? Because he doesn't just think football, he lives it. Video analysis instead of gut feeling, tactical details instead of cliches, and always one step ahead instead of just going with the flow. But what makes him so special? Nagelsmann's football philosophy is based on pace, bold ideas, and a pressing style that drives every opponent to despair. He tinkers, he experiments, and yes, sometimes he risks too much. But that's exactly what makes him so exciting. With the signing of Julian Nagelsmann, the DFB suddenly went all in, and it was a pretty brave bet, because one thing was immediately clear. Nagelsmann had no intention of just putting a few plasters on the bleeding wounds of the national team. He went straight to the heart of the problem, focusing on clarity, aggression, and above all one thing, pressing until the doctor comes. Even in the first game against the USA, you could feel a completely new wind blowing. The players were suddenly running as if they had forgotten for years that playing football can also be fun. Germany suddenly attacked early and aggressively again, stealing the ball from the opponent faster than the Americans could say hamburger, and impressively turning the game around to a 3-1 victory. But Nagelsmann wouldn't be Nagelsmann if he didn't also have something special in terms of personnel. Where Hansi Flick tried to turn Kai Havertz into a fullback, Nagelsmann went back to common sense and created clear roles. At the same time, he put his trust in young players like Jamal Musiala and Florian Wirtz. Nagelsmann understood that it's not about age, but about balance. He mixed experience with youthful exuberance, and lo and behold, it worked. With Julian Nagelsmann, it was suddenly clear again how Germany wanted to play. One idea, a style of football that annoys opponents, stresses them, and forces them into making mistakes. It sounds simple, but it isn't. Nagelsmann usually sends his boys out in a clear 4-2-3-1 formation, although he likes to juggle with formations to constantly surprise opponents. But unlike under Flick, every player now knows exactly what to do. No more confusion, no more chaos. Instead, precise, aggressive pressing actions. As soon as the opponent loses the ball, Germany attacks with lightning speed, while Wirtz and co. dazzle opponents on the wings, opening up space in the middle for strikers like Niklas Füllkrug, Dennis Undav or Tim Kleindienst. In midfield, the situation is currently difficult due to many injuries. Nagelsmann has also, on short notice, ordered Joshua Kimmich back to the right-back position. Sure, not an ideal solution, but Kimmich fully embraces this role and fills it with his usual passion and reliability. This perfectly shows how much the players trust Nagelsmann and unconditionally put themselves at the service of the team. Everyone takes on their clearly defined role, no matter where they are needed. Julian Nagelsmann wouldn't be Julian Nagelsmann if he only relied on tried and true methods. With Jamal Musiala and Florian Wirtz, he has put two young geniuses in the spotlight who finally make Germany's game creative and exciting again. Every pass is a promise. Every move is pure joy, and behind them, the next generation is already lurking with talents like Jamie Llewellyn or Angelo Stiller. Boys whose names you'd better remember because they could soon make Germany a feared opponent again. Nagelsmann never forgets to maintain a good balance. He relies on experience and youth, on leaders and fresh energy. When the home Euros came around in the summer of 2024, expectations were high, but this time it felt different somehow. Julian Nagelsmann had not only given Germany a tactical facelift, but had also reignited the fire in the players' eyes. But was that enough to finally be a contender for major titles again? The group stage, at least, left even the biggest critics in awe. Suddenly, Germany was playing with courage, freshness, and above all, a clear signature. No more shaky knees, no more anxious sideways passes. Instead, a ruthless offense, courageous counter-pressing, and goals that left you wanting more. A 5-1 victory against Scotland, which had all of Germany cheering again. The team looked stable, confident, and you could feel the euphoria sweeping through the country. Football was suddenly fun again. Who would have thought that? In the round of 16, a real litmus test awaited them in Denmark. But instead of cracking, Nagelsmann's squad stepped it up a notch. A confident 2-0 win. Germany was back where it belonged. The stadiums were full, the fans were enthusiastic, creating an atmosphere that hadn't been experienced since 2014. Then came the quarter-final against Spain, the eventual European champions. It was a game that was almost impossible to beat in terms of drama. Germany fought to the end, but fell behind, and then managed to equalize shortly before the final whistle. Extra time, a heart-stopping finale, and in the end, the bitter goal conceded in the 119th minute. 2-1 Spain. The dream was over. A defeat that made them proud, not angry, because Germany was back. A team that fought passionately together for every inch was once again on display, and they finally gave something back to the fans. Experts and fans were surprisingly unanimous after the tournament. Nagelsmann had managed to turn things around. He had taken over a team that was at rock bottom and forged it into a unit that made the country proud with their heads held high. After the 2024 Euros, Germany could have easily fallen back into old patterns. You know, a tournament played well, a bit of celebrating, and then back into the Valley of Tears. But not this time, not with Julian Nagelsmann. Instead of comfortably riding the wave of euphoria, he immediately reached for the scalpel, but with a delicate touch. Thomas Müller, Manuel Neuer, Ilkay Gundogan, big names said goodbye, but not out of malice. It was time for the next step, for fresh blood and new ideas. And it's precisely these new faces that are suddenly causing a stir. Jamie Llewellyn, Angelo Stiller, Jonathan Burkhart, players that only real football nerds had on their radar before suddenly became new beacons of hope. Nagelsmann didn't just rejuvenate the squad, he systematically rebuilt it. Older stars left with dignity, and young players were given confidence and responsibility. The most exciting thing about it, no matter who is on the pitch, the team has a clear identity. This was impressively demonstrated in the game against the Netherlands. Despite numerous personnel changes, every player knew exactly what to do. No chaos, no wild disorder, but a confident performance, structure and dominance. A sign that Nagelsmann's philosophy has deeply integrated into the team's DNA. The DFB believes so much in Nagelsmann's long-term vision that his contract has already been extended prematurely until 2028, a continuity that was last seen with Jogi Löw. Julian Nagelsmann has turned a team full of doubt into a real team again. Sure, he hasn't won any titles yet, but maybe that's his greatest strength, the hunger to finally prove a point to everyone. One thing is certain, Germany finally has a national team to be excited about again, with pace, passion and bold ideas. Soon in the Nations League quarter-final against Italy, we will see how far Nagelsmann's squad really is. But now it's your turn to answer. Do you think Nagelsmann will really succeed in leading Germany back to the top of the world in the long run, or is it all just a hype that will quickly fade away? Let us know your opinion in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, give us a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss anything. If you now feel like watching more exciting football stories, be sure to check out our videos on Joshua Kimmich, the current DFB captain, and Jamal Musiala, one of the hopes of the new generation. We'll see you in the next video, and until then, stay on the ball.